Some people will tell you to play it safe. We're here to tell you to go all out. Welcome to the All Out Blitz. I'm your host, JJ Wenner, and I am joined by my insightful co-host, Doug Orth. Doug, how was your trip to the Windy City, my former home?
Okay. So I have some things to say. Some complimentary, some not so complimentary, but it's a 9 out of a 10. Okay, 9 out of 10. This
Okay.
is a good time. Chicago is one of those towns I'll be happy to visit again, but I'm glad I don't live there. Here's why. I honestly do not know how people made it around that town before GPS existed. With that said, trying to avoid missing exits and setting aside 1 hour to drive 15 miles are about my only complaints. Chicago had some of the best eats imaginable, starting with Nazareth Sweets and Albadia, just a couple Middle Eastern spots, to Antico Posto, Giordano's, and Buza La Michoacana. Okay. My girlfriend, Carla Hazam, was responsible for 3 of those 5 choices, and as you would expect, all of them were very good. I also got to have long dinner with my good friend our good friend Jim Coventry, who is one of the truly great guys in this industry.
Amen to that.
He, by the way, recommended Antico Posto. Very good. Chicken Parmesan. Go there. Anyway, I would be remiss if I don't mention the reason why I went to the Windy City to begin with, to attend the wedding of Sammy and Samara Aday. Congratulations to you both. And with that, JJ, how are you doing? And how was your time away?
Listen, I'm doing great. My daughter got engaged last week, so we went up to Worcester to celebrate as they came back from Nantucket after their engagement trip. So got to meet I had already met the other parents, but it was nice. You know, I always love seeing my kids, and let's be honest, I go to see the dogs, and I had a wonderful, wonderful trip with the puppies. So, but it means I'm really, really old now because my daughter is getting married. So I'm old.
You're still young in my eyes, JJ.
Well, you are the best. However, tonight on this show, we are going to play a game of Smash or Pass. That's right. It's Smash or Pass. Play theme music. Da, 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 da. QB edition. All right, Doug and I are going to go through each round of QBs based on Redraft ADP and tell you who we are smashing and on whom we are passing. But before we do that, Doug, there's some late-breaking news. According to Ian Rappaport, Nico Collins signed a 3-year, $72.5 million extension, vaulting him into the top 10 highest-paid wide receivers. 2 questions for you. Number 1, is he worth it?
I think context is always needed when answering the "is he worth it" question. I don't think any player is worth that kind of money, but I think it is a reasonable contract in the NFL world. In terms of annual average value, he falls into 7th place at receiver, in between Devontae Smith at $25 million and DK Metcalf at $24 million. So from that perspective, it is worth locking him up now because we know the prices are only just going to continue to go up. At least we should expect that anyway. And ensuring that CJ Stroud has 2 very good receivers to throw to for the remainder of his rookie contract. So from that perspective, yeah, it is worth it now.
Question number 2.
Yes.
Will he be the wide receiver 1 in Houston this season?
Yeah, you're not going to like my answer because I'm not going to commit. I'm not going to commit to answering the question, but I will give you a good answer. I think there will be times that he is, but as a whole, I don't think he will be the number 1. There's already been plenty of debate this offseason if Collins was the alpha last season when it was just him and Tank Dell when they were on the field together. And I think that discussion has some merit. I'm of the belief that Stephon Diggs is an alpha receiver until proven otherwise. So I think Collins will be the clear top option in the red zone, but all 3 receivers will probably take their turns sharing the spotlight. If you're asking me for one prediction, I think Diggs finishes with the most catches and yards, and Collins finishes with the most touchdowns.
Okay. It is non-committal, sort of splitting the 2, but I'll take it as an answer. That's a solid answer.
Passing grade, right?
Well,
Almost. Okay.
It's a pass-fail subject this year, so you passed. Well, speaking of passing, and something you should not pass on, our comprehensive 2024 IDP Plus Rookie Guide is here. Get the Rookie Draft Guide for a limited time only for $9.99. The latest version includes all the post-draft feedback you need to dominate your drafts. So check out the link in the show description and download your copy today. Now, Doug, whether you are playing Superflex or 1QB, fantasy managers need to know which QBs are legit and which are fugazis. Now, what Doug and I are going to do tonight is we're going to look at each round of QB based upon ADP and tell you our choices for the QBs that we'd smash the draft button on and which we'd say, meh. So, Doug, the first 12 QBs going off the board, according to Fantasy Pros Redraft ADP, are Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy, and Justin Herbert. That's the top 12. Who are you smashing?
One can easily make the case that Anthony Richardson is a smash or a pass at his early 5th round ADP. I'm going to tell you 2 reasons why he would be a pass. He only lasted 4 games as a rookie last year and God knows he needs to learn how to protect himself better. And in those 4 games that he did play, he only completed 59.5% of his passes. That's the negative. With that said, there are many more reasons why Richardson is worth the risk. He may be the freakiest athlete to ever play quarterback in the NFL, and that is not a stretch. I'm going to remind those people that don't remember draft last year. Not only does he possess 4.4 speed, but he can be a bulldozer if he wants at 244 pounds. Just another reminder, he jumped 40.5 inches in the vertical and 10 feet 9 in the broad at the combine last year. He also has the arm strength he has enough arm strength that no throw is impossible to him. So he's testing you in every way possible. With that said, raw athleticism is great, but that's only part of the story with him. Shane Steichen, obviously the head coach there, oversaw the development of Jalen Hurts and was paramount in Hurts' development as a top 5 NFL quarterback during his time with the Eagles. Now, while Hurts was and is a very athletic quarterback in his own right, he isn't Richardson. And in Steichen's first, moving back a few more years, in Steichen's first full season as the offensive coordinator, he turned Justin Herbert into the 2020 NFL Rookie of the Year. So last but not least here, the last but not least reason I believe Anthony Richardson could be a potential overall QB1 this year is his supporting cast. Despite a down year or 2, Jonathan Taylor can take over a game at any time and demands the respect of a defense. A defense that cannot focus entirely on Richardson's athleticism will eventually get burnt. And as far as his pass catchers, Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, and A.D. Mitchell all present different challenges for a defense. Combine that with Shaken's desire to play fast, as we know, faster pace, more plays, and the threat I believe Jelani Woods, hopefully healthy this year, will present if he can stay healthy this year. And I think fantasy managers should have a player capable of matching anything Josh Allen has done. So, JJ, who are you smashing?
Interesting. I like your comparison to Josh Allen. Now, obviously, I am going to go with I'm going to draft the big names at the top, right, of the list, if they're there when I draft. I'm not going to say you should draft this player over Josh, Jalen, or Pat. But in my opinion, people are beginning to check out on Justin Herbert. And I can understand why. Like Eminem said, I know everything he's about to say against me, right? His performance has decreased every year. He's not able to take the next step. He lost all of his offensive weapons with Allen, Eckler, and Williams leaving this offseason. And Jim Harbaugh is going to run the ball 75% of the time. I hear you. I hear all of that, but I'm here to tell you to keep the faith. Don't give up yet. He finally has a competent coach. Say what you will about Big Jim, but he won 44 games in 4 years with the Niners, with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick as his QB. I think Justin Herbert's better than both of them. Through his first 13 games last year, Herbert was QB 6. With a terrible rushing attack, Herbert was 14th in play action attempts. Out of 28 QBs with at least 53 play action pass attempts, Herbert was 26th in ADOT on those attempts at 6.6 yards. So even trying to sucker in the defense, he still wasn't able to hit anybody deep. Now, I know all of the research shows that you don't need a formidable rushing attack to run effective play action, right? You don't even need a rushing attack. It helps. But that is what happens when you don't, right? Nobody is so scared of the run that they're going to overcommit.
Yep.
And that overcommitting is what you need to hit the big plays. So let's go way back to 2013. Colin Kaepernick was 10th in play action attempts and had an ADOT of 10.5 on those attempts. 4 yards more, but I will take those 4 yards every day of the week out of Justin Herbert. So there are plenty of other reasons, right? This is just one reason to be bullish on his upside. But if he is sitting there for me at his ADP of 93, I'm smashing. I don't know. I can't say no to Herbert. It's the hair.
Yeah. And QB 12, now QB 12, and he might fall further. Or, I mean, possible fantasy QB 2 draft time. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'd happily snatch him up. Even in Superflex as my QB1, I'd take that. I'd take that risk.
Yeah.
But now that we're done with the positivity, though, Doug.
Of course.
Of that first group, who are you passing on?
Okay, so you remember I wasn't very bold early on with when you asked me about Nico Collins?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going bold now.
Uh-oh.
From the group we just mentioned, I'm shockingly passing on Josh Allen. Although I think it makes a ton of sense why when we consider his draft cost.
Okay.
First and foremost, quarterback is becoming a very deep position. I touched on that with Anthony Richardson. I think that if you can get a similar prospect 3 rounds later in draft ADP, then get him 3 rounds later. So first and foremost, quarterback is becoming a very deep position in fantasy. There can be a strong case made that any of the quarterbacks you mentioned, the top 12 quarterbacks in ADP that you mentioned, have a legit chance to finish inside the top 5. Think about that. The top 12 quarterbacks, you can make a strong case that you can put any of them in the top 5. The number of dual threat quarterbacks seemingly increases every year, which means Allen has to continually raise his floor to justify his ADP at the end of the second and beginning of the third round. And I'm not going to pay that price, I don't believe, for a quarterback. There's almost no chance he comes close to scoring 15 rushing touchdowns for a second straight year. His rushing efficiency, primarily yards per carry, took a big hit last season. I don't suspect he will experience much of a rebirth in that area either after topping 760 yards in back-to-back years. I also believe Ray Davis will help take some of the rushing load off of him. And it's not just the rushing production that I expect to decrease. While Josh Allen seemingly did okay without Stephon Diggs being a big part of the game plan over the second half of the season, there's still something to be said about his presence, how his presence affected defenses, how defenses had to play the Bills. I think I'm relatively high in the long-term prospects of Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid. Curtis Samuel was an underrated signing as well, but none of them can or will affect defenses in the same way Diggs could. So after 4 straight seasons of accounting for at least 40 touchdowns, think about that. Josh Allen has scored combined for at least 40 touchdowns each of the last 4 seasons. I think he's going to be hard-pressed to do it again in 2024. He should easily finish inside the top 5 at his position, but I don't believe he's a great bet to live up to his mid-20s ADP. So, JJ, who are you passing on among the top 12 quarterbacks?
Well, first, I'm not going to disagree with you about Josh Allen. I've shared my concern over his lack of an X receiver.
Yeah.
Everybody they have is a slot receiver. And I'm interested to see what happens. I have nothing against Josh Allen or the Bills. I guess I do. I'm a Jets fan, but I'm interested to see what happens there. Now, for me, Doug, this was a tough one.
This was.
So I've been a long time resident of Dakistan. But for me, I'm going to pass on Dak as the QB9. Now, one of my biggest flaws in life is that when I get emotional, I lose logic and reason. But hear me out about Dak. When was the last time that Dak has posted back-to-back great seasons?
Yeah.
Last year, Dak had probably the best season he's ever had. He was outstanding. But that was his peak. He's not going to do that again. I mean, do we feel confident in the coaching staff? I don't. Do we feel confident in their passing weapons? Outside of CD and maybe Jake Ferguson?
You're right.
I don't. Do we feel confident in their offensive line, starting 2 rookies probably this year? No. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to surrender my passport completely, but I don't know. I just think QB9 is high, and I don't like the Cowboys at all this year. So I'm just going to let somebody else handle the stress. I'm not wishing ill on Dak. I'm not wishing ill on the Cowboys. I'll just let somebody else have him this time. Fair?
Fair. Very fair. I like the points about the offensive line in particular. I think somebody like Jalen Tolbert can step up, but Cooks is another year older. Yeah, it's a lot of things came together last year for Dak to have that solid, 10-week stretch.
Yep.
So, yep. If you hadn't picked Dak, I think I would have. But it was this one, trying to pick one to pass on out of the top 12 was hard to do.
There were a couple in there I would pass on, but
yeah,
Dak was number one for me. So I'll tell you what not to pass on, Doug. It's draft season, folks. And there is nothing better than a live draft. So don't pass on live drafts. Literally, there is nothing better. So get at the head of the game right now with Trophy Smack's gorgeous draft boards, complete with player stickers so deep you couldn't possibly need them all. And for the first time, Trophy Smack has an IDP expansion pack for all of us defensive degenerates who play IDP. So no more scribbling names on blank stickers. Go to Trophy Smack and get the only draft board that meets all of your needs. Not those needs, Doug.
Not those needs. Those needs.
So check out the link in the show notes and get yours today. That got a little saucy. I'll get it right. I'll get it better next time, Trophy Smack. Sorry, guys. All right.
Edit.
We don't hire an editor here. We just keep rolling. All right, Doug. Here are the next round of QBs for round 2. At 13, we have Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa, Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins, and Jaden Daniels. Then Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, Will Levis, and Geno Smith. Who is your smash of the second round?
All right. Well, there are very few things in life I like more than cheat code quarterbacks, as evidenced by Anthony Richardson's by his selection of him earlier. Especially ones I can get at a discount. So Jaden Daniels' current ADP has him going right around the start of round 10, which is almost insane for a quarterback with legitimate upside to throw for 4,000 yards and run out for 1,000 more. I'm not predicting him to do both, JJ, but I think either one is well within his range of outcomes. Under new offense coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, who's in Washington now, was in Arizona before, Kyler Murray averaged at least 19 fantasy points every season. I think it's fair to say Daniels is every bit the athlete and quarterback Murray is. Yes, there is a distinct possibility, just like Murray, he will miss time if he is as careless as a runner as he was in college. But we don't care about that as much if we can get him as a QB2, right? Washington's defense should be better than it was last season, but of course that's not a huge proclamation, right? But I do believe that the Commanders will still find themselves in a fair number of shootouts. In other words, I think Washington will likely play with pace whether it wants to or not. And Kingsbury was always among the leaders in pace when he was coaching the Cardinals. And let's not forget the all-important supporting cast. Aaron McLaurin is about to play with the best quarterback of his career, as will Jahan Dotson. Austin Eckler is a stud in the passing game, and the Commanders will feature some combination of Zach Ertz and Ben Sitt at a tight end. That's good enough to get me interested. JJ, who are you smashing among the 13 through 24?
Well, my smash choice is a little risky, but I'm going to go with the 101 of the actual draft, Caleb Williams. Now, he's going right around the beginning of the 9th round, but I love what the Bears did to build this team to make Caleb's first year successful. Now, it does disappoint me that they figured this out after providing Justin Fields with garbage in his first few seasons, but much like Elsa, I shall let it go. But Williams is throwing this year to possibly the best trio of wide receivers in the league, with Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze joining DJ Moore this offseason, not to mention the addition of DeAndre Swift to the backfield and the steady Kmet at tight end. This is a really solid offensive arsenal at Caleb's disposal. And he was the consensus top QB in this draft. Now, I'm not worried by the character concerns that flooded social media earlier this year. I don't care how a QB dresses or grooms themselves, as long as they aren't terrible to their fans and teammates and can throw the rock. So I'm looking forward to cheering for this young man during the season. And that is why I am smashing the draft button on Caleb Williams. Look at that. We both went with rookies.
And note to self, JJ does not care about pink fingernails or the way a hat's worn or anything. This is breaking news, important information here.
At all. I love how I loved how Cam Newton dresses. I think it's phenomenal. Listen, somebody has to take risks. All I wear are cargo shorts and flannel shirts. I need somebody out there setting the bar higher for dads like me.
And non-dads like me.
And non-dads like you. Actually, I think I was wearing that polo today at school, sir. All right, Doug, second round. Who in this tier are you passing on?
I think I will be okay if I miss out on Baker Mayfield's upside this season. While he unquestionably checks the supporting cast box with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, K. Dotton, and Rashad White, among others, I fear he's about to suffer the same kind of dip in production Geno Smith did when former offensive coordinator Dave Canales left Seattle for Tampa Bay last offseason. There are only a handful of play callers around the league who seem to have the Midas touch when it comes to calling plays. There are plenty of offense coordinators with great schemes, but their timing with certain play calls seems to be lacking in important situations. Seems to me like Dave Canales has both things working in his favor or does both things very well. Tampa Bay's new OC, Liam Cohen, has 1 year coordinating experience on his resume and did not do well with it, although it came in the same season where injuries in the salary cap crushed the Rams in 2022. That offense finished last in total offense and 27th in scoring, which led to Cohen taking a job in college for a year. Now, he didn't fare much better at Kentucky, which finished 100th of 133 Division I teams in total offense and 58th in scoring offense last year, despite having at least 3 NFL caliber players, including one of our favorites, Ray Davis. So, JJ, who are you passing on among the next 12 quarterbacks?
Well, Doug, I am looking at this group of 12 QBs, including guys like Baker, who you mentioned, Rodgers coming off a torn Achilles and just being old and Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, who is a terrible person and quarterback. And I'm left looking at the QB taking at the very end of round 12, Will Levis. Will Levis. Now, he is considered a top 24 QB in redraft. Top 24? This is insanity to me. He had 4 touchdowns in his first start by going deep to D-Hop. After that game, do you know how many TDs he had the rest of the season?
I think you're setting up for 4.
4. 4 more the rest of the year to match his 4 interceptions. To me, that first game was a fluke. They weren't knowing what to expect. D-Hop got deep a bunch of times. It was just working. Everything was clicking. But nobody else, except the Falcons, was surprised by this offense. Nobody was surprised. Now, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons not to like Will Levis, right? He was the weird one with, didn't he put mayonnaise in his coffee?
Yeah.
Right? But I'm happy at passing on Will Levis at pick 23 as a QB 23, not pick 23, a QB 23, and grabbing any other starter or potential starter behind him. I have no faith in Will Levis.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
I disagree a little bit, but I see where you come from. No, I probably have this unreal fascination with Calvin Ridley.
Okay.
But Calvin Ridley is going to be able to run the routes he's supposed to be able to run. Last year, he was running sideline routes, clear out routes way too often. That's going to help him. I don't disagree so much, and I'm probably looking at Levis around, I don't know, I haven't began to start my rankings, but I would probably put him QB 18, QB 20, probably somewhere in there. And again, I'll go. So Ridley's going to be running the routes he should be able to run. Hopkins should be able to run the routes he does run. And Tyler Boyd is a solid slot receiver. All that is meaningless, though, unless you have a good play caller that will emphasize the passing game, and I think that's what Brian Callahan will do there. I also don't think that the previous regime did anything to open things up for Levis as a runner. I'm not saying that he's going to do Josh Allen things, but I think there's potential there for 400 or 500 yards rushing if they'll just allow it to happen. I think there's a distinct possibility he could be so inconsistent you don't want to play him, but I think he'll be surprisingly more productive than he was last year. So I hope that helps. But
it does help. It always helps hearing a contrary opinion. I tend to find myself fixated. Fixated is the wrong word. I find that my belief on a player becomes stagnant.
Yeah.
Sometimes new information that comes in doesn't change what I feel about a player. So I always love hearing information from you. That's, of course, the only reason I do podcasts is so I can do better in my fantasy league. So I just need information. So I appreciate you for educating me a little bit. But now,
so he'll go from QB 23 to QB 22 for you?
No, he'll go from like 30 to 29. And I'll be like, oh, this is because of Doug, and I'll resent you for the rest of the summer. But if we're looking at the rest of these QBs, okay, we just did the top 24 in ADP, 25 through 43. I'm not going to read through all the names, but is there somebody in this range that you think will easily surpass their ADP?
Yeah, easily in this range is going to be a stretch, but and in the interest of full disclosure, I'm going to tell people I like your selection the most out of the top 24. But we'll tease that. We'll just tease it now. But since you did the homework before I did, I'll go with somebody else. I think he's a slam dunk to outperform his finish last year if he and some of his playmakers stay healthy. So my choice will come as a bit of a surprise to all of us, including myself. I don't think Russell Wilson will keep his job all season long, but I do think he will be good enough to start in a pinch if and when necessary. He has long been a player that needed a good running game to help him do what he likes to do, which is create from time to time, throw deep, and to the perimeter. Pittsburgh should give him that. And for as much criticism as he has drawn for last season, he consistently put up strong fantasy QB numbers in what was a less than ideal situation. Look, JJ, a 26-8 touchdown interception ratio with a beat-up receiving core and lackluster offensive line play is nothing to sneeze at, even if it wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing production. Furthermore, the Steelers should also play good defense and be able to protect him, which are two more things he hasn't benefited from much in his career. So, JJ, after having teased your guy, which guy outside the top 24 will smash his ADP?
Well, listen, Doug, this is a lesson to all the students out there. If you do your homework first, if you present your presentation first, everybody else is compared to you. That's why you always go first. That's why I do my homework first, my friend. But for me, I'm looking at the QB 30 going at the end of round 15, Bryce Young. So last year, his top 5 targets were Thielen, Mingo, Chark, Hubbard, and Sanders. Not exactly what you would call a murderer's row of weapons. This year, they have Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen's back, and Xavier Legette at wide receiver. They added Jonathan Brooks and Jatavian Sanders at tight end. If he finishes QB 30 with those offensive weapons and the upgrades that they made to the offensive line, he's going to be looking for a new job.
Yep.
Last year, just by staying healthy for the full season, he was QB 23. So I don't see, if he plays in at least 14 games this year, not even 17 games, 14 games, that he will not smash the QB 30 that he's being drafted at. I would say if he plays 14 games, he'll be QB 23 like he was last year or more, because I think his production is going to improve.
And JJ, let's not forget Dave Canales here. Just bringing him in is going to be and they solidified the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not greatly, but they did bring in Robert Hunt, for example. Huge addition there. So, yeah, I'm as I said earlier, I'm totally on board with this one.
Yeah, sometimes having such a terrible coaching staff can destroy an offensive line. I mean, and even just having a lot of those offensive linemen play together for a second year, getting their feet together, learning, I don't see anywhere that Bryce Young can go but up from where he was last year. So I don't know.
Totally on board.
I'm hoping. All right. Well, you might think looking at us that we're just a bunch of pretty faces, but that's not all we are at IDP Plus. We have an entire suite of tools. I know a lot of them, and rankings for both offense and defense. Plus, we have rookie rankings, we have injury trackers, and a lot more. So right now, get your first month at IDP Plus for just $1 with the promo code MOCKDRAFT. So head over to idpguys.org after the show to get ahead of your lazy league mates and start your march towards fantasy football greatness today. The promo code MOCKDRAFT. The link and details are in the show description. Doug, much like she said over your trip, this was a quick one. It is time to say goodbye. So, and let people know where they can find us and any final thoughts. Go ahead, Doug.
That's a jerk move.
It's a pro move, my friend.
And I will tell you, in my defense, she was plenty happy. So I don't. Sorry. Where can they find me? Same as always, guys. The Twitter handle is there on the screen, DOUGORTH. I wish I had something else to plug right now. I can tell you, though, it seems like I do have a little bit of a tinge of an update every time we do this. I was asked by the Roto Underworld's player profilers, Theo Grimminger, to do a little bit like a cameo for their draft guide coming up here. And I'll be look for that in the next few weeks, I suppose. But I'll be contributing a small part to their draft coverage. So that's what's new. That's what's fresh. That's what's happening, kids. So JJ,
you sound just like a young man.
Yeah,
just like a young man, my friend. Well, I'm at JJ Wenner on Twitter. Thank you to Doug for all of his work. Special thank you, as always, to the whole crew at IDP Plus for helping produce the pod. You can catch me on the Rider Dynasty podcast this Friday with Jameson and Joe as we break down QB tiers. And be sure to tune in next week at Wednesday when Doug and I play another round of Smash or Pass, this time with the tight ends. And, I generally don't say anything with final thoughts, but I did want to add, you never know what somebody is going through. So try to treat people as kindly and with grace and compassion as we all try to go through this crazy world, right? Life isn't easy, and some of us struggle a little bit more than others. So take a second out of your day, listen to somebody who really wants you to listen to them, and just be kind. It doesn't cost you anything to be kind. So thank you for tuning in. I guess I don't want to go on a down note, but I really mean that. And thank you. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to talk with us.
JJ, it's so true, though. I mean, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. I know you hear that, it's almost cliche at this point, but yeah. Life is not easy. As much as people want to pretend and give off that image that life is easy, it's not easy. So, yeah, be there to listen, be there to care. It's surprising. I said years ago, and this is with parenting, I have no experience parenting. So take it for what it's worth, but 90% of being a good parent is caring, right? I think that's entirely true. And I think to being a good human being, I'm going to make that one up too. I think 90% of being a good human being is just caring about something other than yourself. So, yeah, very good message.
Yes, and sometimes it takes some years to figure that out, but wisdom does come with age. So thank you for tuning in. And remember, when in doubt, go all out. Boat drinks, my friends.